$3,500 that I
definitely needed.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's a great camera.
I have to find the thing with that camera, though, that makes me go, I'm glad I bought it. With the scooters, we can go out and ride scooters. And when I come home, I think that was worth it.
Yeah. And it was worth it.
It was worth it.
It was worth every penny that I spent on it to ride.
But the camera has never been used until today. It's been sitting there in the corner of my room for, what?
2
Christmas.
months. Yeah.
That's stupid. I was going to say 2 weeks.
Well, it's
They're going to come out with a new camera that's better than it before I use that.
You're using it right now, and they haven't come out with a better camera. So,
are you sure?
Well, I mean, there are cameras that you could argue are better, but no, this is the best you got.
Okay, cool. A7S3. I'm a professional YouTuber with that thing.
Yes,
I'm doing the same thing.
That's all it takes. Mm-hmm. You get the camera, you're done.
Yep.
You don't have to film anything.
You don't even have to think of a reason.
No,
apparently.
Just videotape yourself making coffee,
which I have done.
There you go.
Not with that camera.
Not with that camera. Well, then it didn't count.
It looked horrible. So you are you're here.
Yeah.
This isn't the serial killer basement. You're in my room with the gallery behind us.
Yep.
That, thanks to Dennis and Ruth Osterman and my brother Michael and some Dr. Seuss, which that's not in the shot. So
yeah, it's funny because you see these paintings behind you each week and they're strange looking. And it's like, I have no idea what's going on. And those specifically, the one that's directly behind me, you start looking at all the nuances of that painting, and it's really kind of wild, all the work that Dennis put into that.
Yeah, that was my best buddy, Dennis, in Texas. And since I've known him since like 2007. And he always had this in his apartment. And I would stare at it and I'm like, that's so cool that you just did that. And he did it. I don't know how old he was when he did it, but I always liked it. And then he moved in with his girlfriend and got a nice house, and they've got good taste and she's got good taste. And I don't think that she wanted it.
Yeah. His good taste got trumped by her good taste.
Yeah. But I always liked it. So Dennis is like, well, if you like it, I'll give it to you, 'cause you've always complimented it and everything like that. I was like, yeah, give it to me. Don't throw it away. I don't have a wife telling me I can't put it up. So,
and then there's this owl, and I'm seeing also the child with head on his bed.
Yeah.
Tell me about those. Those are kind of unique.
Those are Ruth Osterman.
Okay.
And what she does is she does a collaboration with her daughter, who's at the time she did this, her daughter was, I think, 2. And basically the 2-year-old does her best, well, either with markers or paint or whatever, and just does what she does to a canvas at 2 years old.
Okay.
And then her mother, who's an artist, goes in and then uses sort of the line and the general frame of the toddler to make some cool picture.
Okay.
So you look at Dennis's picture, you look at what's around. I kind of like a little bit of abstract to the art. I like to be able to look at it and kind of think about it, and not just, like you see something and it is what it is. You can appreciate it, but I kind of like a little bit of abstract weirdness. And so the pictures that Ruth did with her daughter kind of have that quality to it. So I really like the way it looks. Mm-hmm. And then I also like the analogy of it because, the daughter, who doesn't really know how to paint yet, being only 2 years old, just makes, what a normal person might look at as just a mess of the canvas. But she doesn't know any better. And then when she gives it to her mom then takes it, chooses which direction should be up, and then create something beautiful from it. And so I like the analogy that with us, we can't see the future. We don't know anything. But God gives us this life and says, you have a choice. You can do and be whatever you choose. And we, like a 2-year-old, make a mess of the canvas. But if we turn over our life to him, he can take no matter what we are, flip it upside down and still make something beautiful from it. But we got to let go of the canvas and give it to him. So I like that analogy. It kind of tells a story, and that's the inspiration that I see when I see how cool the finished products are.
Yeah, that's very cool, and they're cool paintings.
The first one they did, it was called The Red Boat. And if you look, there's a YouTube video where they've got it where you can actually see the girl scribbling.
Okay.
And she's holding the pen at the back and she's just going wild with it. And if you were just to look, I mean, with these big black, it's almost like a Sharpie. It's like a big black marker. You would think she's just ruined this picture because it really is just scribbling. And when she's done, as if she hadn't done enough. Like as an art, I would think the artist would be like, okay, that's enough. Like, don't do too much. I can't work with. She gets down and she like focuses and makes these 2 really big black marks. And the mother takes the painting and flips it sideways and she paints this beautiful picture with a red boat. That's like behind me here.
Oh, okay.
And then in the 2 blackest spots that the daughter painted, she put 2 people in the picture. And so for that specific one, I say that where we've made the darkest and worst marks is where God will put himself in the picture with us.
That's nice.
So anyway, that's why I like that's why I like this.
Very cool. Yeah, they're beautiful. They're beautiful prints. It's very neat, and it's different getting to see it in person. So all our viewers are probably going to be asking to be invited over to your room to see all your pictures.
Yeah,
you have to set up your own gallery.
So is it how you imagined it though? You're in my room.
It's a little different. Yeah, it's more bunk beddy. No, no, I pictured your room being in a different part of the house. And,
okay.
Yeah, but it's cool.
It's a pretty cool setup.
Yeah.
So you were traveling before you even traveled here too.
Yeah. So right before I left for here, it was my father-in-law's 80th birthday. And so my wife and all of her siblings, they all went down to celebrate his birthday. And so we were in Chattanooga. So we drove 10 hours down, 10 hours back, and then I got on a flight and flew out here.
What does an 80-year-old birthday party look like in your family?
Well, it was at a church, gym, and there were a lot of people there. We had a lot of good. Seth made some brisket.
Oh, cool!
I don't know how many he made. I think he had 6 big briskets, and there was a lot of people there. Most was the family, but the family is big enough.
Did you eat all the brisket?
I don't think so. It would have been quite a feat if we ate all of that.
Okay,
but,
good. So there was enough.
There was enough. Oh yeah, I think so. So I couldn't believe he just kept pulling another one out. But he smokes them. He does a pretty good job. And,
wow. It takes hours.
Yeah. He had 6 briskets on his smoker all night. I
do Instapot.
There you go.
And I can feed 3-4 people easy.
No problem. And Instapot's pretty cool. What's the best thing you've made in that?
Rice.
Okay.
And that's what I normally use it for. But I've made ribs and chicken and pork. They've come out okay.
Yeah.
I just like it because it's quick.
Yes.
Throw it in there, hit the timer, beep. You don't have to defrost the meat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Sarah thinks Sarah's a great cook, but she puts in a whole artichoke into the Instapot and cooks that and dips, like they're like little petals, right? Dips it in butter and eats it like a spoon. And my kids eat that up. They love that.
I went on my very first date when I was 16, and
To where?
we went to Olive Garden.
Okay.
So I was making sure we went somewhere very classy.
Very classy definition of
And
that.
then I'm looking at this menu, choosing what to order. And honestly, at 16 years old, it's one of the very first times I've ever been in a restaurant and I can order whatever I want. Because we usually order stuff family style.
Yeah.
Sharing, group, dad picks something for everybody, and we just it's how it goes. But here I am in a restaurant, and so I'm looking, and I want to pick something that's interesting and exotic. And so I picked a pizza or something like that with artichoke hearts. And I thought that was an animal. And the only reason I ordered it was because I thought that was the most crazy and interesting thing I could possibly get. And I'm like, wow, artichoke hearts is a thing? I'd never heard of it. And I was like, wow, actually hearts of multiple artichokes. And I pictured it. I think I pictured like some sort of like anteater or something. I'm like, and I was nervous about it, but I was kind of excited to have this very exotic thing.
Yeah.
And then when I came and I'm getting my pizza and it was like this vegetable. I'm like, what is this? And I was looking for the hearts. And I actually asked the waitress, like, what is this pizza?
Bring me more hearts.
And she said, that's the artichoke hearts. I'm like, what is this like vegetable here? She's like, those are the artichoke hearts.
You're like, I thought that we were talking about an antelope here.
Yeah. I was like,
I want antelope heart. Find me some heart.
it was ridiculous. But then I was pissed because I got basically a vegetarian pizza, which is not the kind I would want. I would want meat.
Yeah. Heart meat.
So pissed.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I didn't have a lot of variety.
Who was your date?
My date was a girl named Liz McHugh.
Okay.
And she went to my friend Chris Ireland's church.
Okay.
Which was, do you remember what church that was? It's like South
Hill Baptist?
South Hill Baptist.
Yep.
And yeah, she was so cute. A bunch of guys all liked her. It didn't
But she
work
went
out.
for the guy that was interested in artichoke hearts.
Yeah. It didn't last long.
Yeah. Well,
We only went out like 3 or 4 times.
she thought you were a vegetarian.
Well, also one time we were on like this double date. It was me and her and then another couple. And we passed like this old classic like 57 Chevy on M59.
Yeah.
That was like in pristine condition. Like this is probably this person's like heart and soul.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, I just didn't really think about it. It was the wrong thing to do, but I also didn't like really put any thought into it. I wasn't being as malicious as you might think, but I had a Coke cap.
Okay.
And as we passed the Coke cap, I threw it out the car window and I hit his beautiful 57 Chevy. And he got really mad. And he basically like turned into total road rage and was like trying to run her off the road. And he was screaming and everything like that.
Oh.
So that was stressful for her.
Yes.
And
you were the cause of that stress.
yeah. And on the metric of that move working to my benefit to my detriment, it was more on detriment. That was unattractive to her that I had done that.
Huh. So you were a vegetarian
And a vandal.
kind of a vandal who caused her stress.
An instigator and put us in unsafe. I couldn't be trusted. So anyway, She did a good job by dodging the bullet.
No good.
That story segues into nothing also.
Hey,
I don't even know why I told
that's our
it.
specialty.
I don't even know why I told that story. It doesn't matter.
Well, it reminds me of Romans 13:8-10.
I was thinking the
where
same
you shouldn't,
thing.
you owe nothing to anyone, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and read it.
All right.
Number 8, or Romans 13:8-10. Owe nothing to anyone except for your obligation to love one another. If you love your neighbor, you will fulfill the requirements of God's law. For the commandments say, you must not commit adultery, you must not murder, you must not steal, you must not covet. These and other such commandments are summed up in this one commandment: love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no wrong to others. Love fulfills the requirements of God's law. So, it's interesting that it starts out with owe nothing to anyone, and then it ends with love your neighbor.
Yeah.
There must be there's a correlation between those two. I suppose.
That is interesting because owe nothing to anyone. I've heard this used as in a reason why you shouldn't be in debt.
Mm-hmm.
And not just in debt to a person, but like in debt in general. You shouldn't have a mortgage on your house. You shouldn't have credit card debt. You shouldn't have, the debt in and of itself is not what God wants for us to do.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems reasonable. It's not, I don't think that's wrong. It'd be difficult to do in our society, but it's possible.
Yeah. And then it goes on to say that there's one thing that you should owe to everyone.
Yeah.
And that is an obligation to love one another.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of an interesting sort of a word picture.
It's also interesting that it keeps saying neighbor, neighbor, neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I can say safely that Paul never met my neighbors.
And I've met them for a moment.
Yeah. It wasn't a pleasant experience, was it?
Well, no. I mean, it wasn't either way. So,
did you see the fork in their tongue?
She was sticking her tongue
It's
out.
creepy, man. Yeah.
It was, yeah. It's funny. Yeah. Well, your neighbor, you've got lots of neighbors here.
That's true. You live on the beach. Real estate is used up.
Yes. Yeah, you gotta leave the room just to change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But leave the house. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm used to back in rural Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
where we grew up. It's not exactly rural, but compared to this, like between the houses, I mean, it's just a sidewalk.
Yeah. You could count the blades of grass in my neighborhood on one hand.
Yeah. And we try to kill them as quick as possible.
Yeah. That's just a weed.
We'd be gone.
Yeah. It's just in between the cracks. So, but it is interesting because if you think about owe nothing to anyone and you say, well, that means no debt, the rest of the verse kind of doesn't make sense. It seems like he's kind of talking about something on a personal level. There's another side of this, though, where I see that people don't want to ask someone a favor because then they'll feel indebted. Like, for instance, we went out to breakfast and then we were getting up soon and we offered that lady our table.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, well, we're going to be leaving right now. Do you want our table? She clearly did because she didn't have anywhere to sit. That was the reason why she was meandering around, rubbernecking all over the place.
Yep.
But
on our table.
What did she say when we offered it to her? Oh, no. It's okay. I'll wait. I'll find something.
Yeah.
It's like, because even though she's never going to see me again in her life, there's this natural inclination of not wanting to be beholden, I guess, to someone.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really how relationships work, because I've heard, I forgot the author, but he said if you want to get close to your neighbors and you want to join a community, the best way is not to do favors. The best way is to ask for a favor. Because if you're a new person in a neighborhood and you go up to someone's door and you initiate that first, hey, can you please help me? And you give them the opportunity to help you. There is an intuitive, well, that means that if I ever needed help, I could ask this person. And so the fact that you were willing to ask them for help tells them, oh, well, since I've done this favor, I now could do that. And it creates collaboration a lot more. Rather than if you go to some stranger and say, here, I'm giving you all this free stuff, or I'm such a serving, nice guy. People are like, wow, look, you're new here. Don't do anything for me because I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to do something for you. So that's just sort of a psychology thing. And I'm not trying to read this and then flip it. What I'm trying to do is kind of dig in, like, owe nothing to anyone except for your obligation to love one another. In some sense, I feel like maybe that what I was describing with doing favors and that cooperation, that's how you love people, is you get in and do life with them at whatever level they're at, and you invite them to your table and you're not afraid to join their scenario.
Yeah. It's interesting what you said about asking a favor of someone else. It's a couple of years ago, we hired two teachers who were pretty much straight out of school, and they're both young, and I'm working with both of them. They're both science teachers, and I'm saying I have taught what you are going to teach.
Right.
Like, I know exactly what you're going to do every day, all year long. Like, if you came to me and said, what am I going to do today? I would say, well, where are you in the book? Or, what's the specific lesson? And then I would give you 5 possible things you could do that day.
Right.
And so one of the 2 teachers just acted like I didn't exist. She was like, yeah, I got it. And for the whole year, she didn't want to hear it. And I would check on her and see if she's doing well. I would give her ideas, but she really never seemed like she was interested in hearing what I had to say. The other one, she would constantly be interested and use it and would then bounce ideas off me. And it made me feel like she was the smarter of the 2, even though she seemed like she was a little more needy.
Yep.
She was recognizing that she was a new teacher and hadn't done this her entire life. And so when she needed help, she asked the people around her. And the other one, she was straight out of school. She didn't know what she was doing either. But she was too prideful to ask anyone. So I really appreciate the one perspective where she was willing to humble herself and ask the question. And the other one, we fired her. So,
you did?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I don't know if she quit or got fired, but she moved on.
And the other one is still there?
Yeah. And a great teacher.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's a good lesson, too. If anybody who
works with me,
trusts and listens to Steve's advice, Steve will think you are a very, very smart person.
You are wise.
Yeah, that just makes common sense. Ask me the question if you don't know, because I do know, and I will tell you.
There you go.
It makes sense to me.
You just ask me anything, I'll think that you're smart to be doing such a wise beyond your years. I can't believe what a good idea you had to come to me to ask my opinion.
So I would say that this owe nothing to anyone is it is talking about money, because if you look at verse 6, Pay your taxes too for the same reasons. For government workers need to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
7, give to everyone what you owe them. Pay your taxes and government fees to those who collect them, and give respect and honor to those who are in authority. Owe nothing to anyone.
Except the obligation to love. So it is interesting. The previous sections talking about the government and taxes and not owing anything. And it says, again, I'm going to say don't owe anything except one thing.
Yeah.
You have an obligation to love everyone.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So, but everybody owes taxes. Everybody owes. So I feel like that don't owe anything means don't go delinquent. Pay your taxes. Pay the things it doesn't say don't owe the taxes in the first place. It's like you have obligations. Don't leave it, like be ahead of it.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like it's as much as like don't ever get yourself in a situation where you have to pay someone something. That doesn't seem reasonable. Mm-hmm. Certainly government fees and taxes are an obligation. And, if you're going to start a business with someone, there's probably going to be some back and forth. Okay, I'll get you back for this. You do but I imagine this seems like maybe it means when I owe you the money, or when it's my turn to make good on the agreement, whether it's taxes or whatever, I need to do that and not, I just don't have it, or excuses, or hide from the responsibility, or just walk away and not pay somebody that I owe. So I don't know.
No, I
know there's a lot of people that are really anti-debt though.
Yeah. And this section doesn't specifically say don't go into debt. I mean, it does say owe no one anything, but it says give to everyone what you owe them. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you're paying your debts and being responsible. So, it's interesting. It's
funny that 7 says give to everyone what you owe them, and then it ends with owe nothing to anyone.
Yes.
Okay.
Except to love your neighbor.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing, though. The idea that loving your neighbor is something that you owe them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who was it that said something? I think you were the one that told me that they're a eternal being, or maybe it was Jordan. He said, look at someone else and recognize that they're an eternal being. They're an image bearer of God, and they will live forever. Like that other human is intrinsically sacred and huge. And what you do to that, you're doing to an eternal image bearer of God.
Yeah.
It's like, careful.
Yeah. It is something that
I don't put humans on that level. Not all humans.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah. And I mean, we were talking earlier today that it's a natural tendency to meet someone and sort of size them up and maybe even see things that you see negatively, and you look at how someone's dressed or how they respond, or, it's just
the kind of art they like to have in their room.
Yeah, especially that. They're a mess.
Yeah. I pictured it was nicer here.